Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Scar here from theScore eSports here with Krepo, one of the top EU casters. Currently at Worlds. Krepo, how's it been?
It's been good since our last interview. I just want to do one more time, so I asked Caitlin to hook me up with that scarra interview.
So between you and the who do you think is a better caster?
Uh, the Fisio.
Dude, come on!
He's like, let's say there's a few areas in which I excel, and he excels in all the others.
All right. But really, how has Worlds been for you? Like the experience, the multiple venues, how has it been?
It's been a long grind because I arrived in LA September 7th. So I will be in NA for like 2 months straight. So it's a bit of a grind traveling, but I loved the prep we did. We got a lot of information in, worked together with theFisio very closely in preparing for the matches, and it's much more fun to do it together with people. We had a good caster boot camp. We have a major team here, that went through groups. Like a couple of guys did alt stream, then came to San Fran, and then we switched around too. I'm very lucky. I got to do both weeks of group stages, now quarterfinals. So I'm loving it, honestly.
What really makes this great for you? Is it like the crowd? Is it the fans? Is it just being able to do this type of prep and then showing off essentially what you're prepared for after 2 weeks?
There's a lot of elements to it. Like one, you get to watch good league, which is always fun. The storylines are just so much more important. It's not just another week of LCS where the standings may shift. Like these guys are playing for their tournament lives. You get to meet a lot of people you haven't seen in ages. Like Scarra in an interview. You get to hang out with a bunch of different casters. You get to cast with people like I don't get to cast with Jat that much during the year, and we casted together, and I learned something from him. So now I can take that home. And same from casting with Kobe, you learn these little things, these nuances, Kaz going nuts, how they pick up certain things, how they approach things, how do they prepare. Like you just become a better caster during Worlds, and it's also the ultimate testing ground. I think last year at Worlds I was shit. Right now I'm less shit, and next year I'll be great.
Oh, can you kind of tell us something that you've learned, like maybe something small?
For me, it's a technique that Jat and Riverton do well. It's what I call the slow starter. So sometimes the action will drop, or two people don't really necessarily want to immediately jump in, and instead of doing the awkward, okay, I guess I'll talk, Riv and Jat are really good at picking that up very slowly. So Riv will go and in the jungle right now, X or Y is happening, and it feels very seamless, even though it could have been two guys pointing at each other, you go, I go, 2 seconds pass by, and then instead of letting that recognize on air, you don't notice because it seems so planned. So it's good recovery. Jat's delivery is fantastic. So he's really good at succinctly delivering information, and that is something I aspire to learn.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the games. Unfortunately this year, or fortunately this year, depending on if you're a Korean fan or not, Korea's kind of dominated everything. Even in the current games, I think Korea is currently up 2-0.
Yeah.
What do you kind of think about this type of domination?
That's why I quit, man. I saw the Koreans coming. I was like, we got close one time, and we were out afterwards. No, they're looking super dominant this year again. Every year is is the gap closing? But it turns out the gap's closing between the other regions, but Korea somehow still plays super well. I think the gap has actually closed a little bit, but they're still on top of their games, especially their week-to-week prep is insane. As the tournament progresses, you really see that they get their shit together, and other teams are still working on some core issues.
I want to talk to you a little about Europe, because I just talked to Freeze, and he says that Europe is a really hard region to progress upwards because a lot of their players are very egotistical, or they have they're really hard to work with, really hard to coach. Do you think that that's a big, weakness of the European region?
I mean, everybody wants these cocky, confident players, but then they're obviously very hard to deal with. I think Europe just could do well with a lot of experienced coaches that somehow can win the trust. I think any player is coachable, but it's all about trust. That if you can get the mutual trust in that relationship, and you get some super experienced sports coaches actually coming in teaching things, like sports psychologists as well. Even though that's such a buzzword themed thing, in esports, I genuinely think that teaching people how to work with each other, deliver feedback in a nice manner, definitely goes better, because a lot of these players, they love the banter, but they have a hard time drawing the line between the banter and the actual good discussions. I've sat in post-game discussions of some teams, and it's quite memey. It's quite EU speak as well, and that definitely means that people aren't really giving the feedback the best way they can. I think there's a lot to still improve there.
What's something that you'd like to see happen within the next year then?
For our great teams, I mean, I want to see Fnatic get back on top, because I think storied organizations matter a lot for the fans too. It's really hard for fans to attach themselves to new orgs. I wanted to see G2 continue to learn from their mistakes, find a creative way in branding. I don't mind that they play the villain role as long as their players are supported for when it goes wrong. I think Perks took like a big hit, you know, he got a lot of heat, and I think that's kind of unfair because people always want the cocky guys, but then I think they shit on them too hard when it goes wrong. But then again, if you play that character, you gotta be able to own it when it goes wrong too. So I just want to see more support for some of the more prominent players. I want to see the EU players stream a lot more. I know it's counterintuitive to practice, but I think building your brand up over time can do a lot for these players individually when they retire, for the league as well. Back in the day, you know, people used to follow pro players into esports because they were hotshot fans, because they maybe were Scarra fans, and they wanted to watch what was happening in the games. And I think that's something I would like to see.
Well, do you have any final words for any Krepo fans out there? Anyone who followed you into casting?
Yeah, there was this one guy that said, you know what, Krepo, for the first time I associated you as a caster more than a player, and I thought that was cool. I dread the day where I've actually casted longer than my pro career, because that's going to be weird. I just want to say thanks to all the fans that come out to fan meets. I really love doing them, and it's really cool meeting the down-to-earth like esports fan that come to venues, because I read Reddit and I read like my Twitter, and there's some really like mean people out there, but then I get to the venues and I see like the excitement that it brings and how nice people actually are, and I get reminded that sometimes these are two different demographics, and there's a bunch of maybe casual, maybe hardcore, just like fans out there that don't post that much online, and it's a voice that we don't always hear. And it's really refreshing to see that these people are so nice and just so chill in real life. That, or they're just all dicks online and they smile to my face, you know. But yeah, thank you if you ever attended a fan meet, waited in line for a picture. It really means a lot to me.
Well, I'm Scar here from theScore eSports here with Krepo, potentially the second best European caster.
Color caster.
Potentially the second best European color caster. You can find more of our content online on our mobile app. Thank you guys. Hope you guys have a nice day.